Hello and welcome back to Niche Tea, where we talk about drama happening in communities you may not be a part of. Last time we talked about the ongoing epidemic of high school mean girl behavior in the princess community. Today we're talking about something a little bit on the heavier side that's come out in the last few days in the tabletop role-playing game community. No one has been physically harmed that I am aware of. However, I do want to warn that the content we're going to discuss involves emotional manipulation and, we'll say, mistreatment, as well as risk to physical health. Starting from the top, tabletop RPGs can be thought of as Dungeons & Dragons and Friends. These are games where you come together with a few of your friends, build characters, one person acts as the game master or dungeon master and takes you through an adventure that you guys all go through together, and you have a lot of fun. If you weren't aware, Dungeons & Dragons is absolutely not the only one. There's a whole host of them. So D&D is one of many games within the tabletop RPG space. Some people only play D&D, and some people play a whole host of different stuff. And like almost any other niche sphere you can think of, there are also content creators who specialize in tabletop RPG content. Basic how-tos, tips for being a game master, how to build narratives, keep a story moving when maybe you have weird players doing weird shit. There's a lot of content where people literally just get a group of well-known creators together to play games over a period of weeks. So they'll do a season of a show, which is them playing an entire campaign of a particular tabletop RPG, and you get to watch your favorite creators work together and do fun stuff. And some people just use the IP of these different games to make fun creative content like animations. And as with any other space, there are more well-known creators. For example, JoeCat, someone we've talked about previously, made a ton of D&D content and was well known for it. And by becoming a larger creator in this space, you can get extra opportunities to be involved in different projects and be brought on to events. So, what happened? One very prominent creator in the tabletop RPG space is a man by the name of Gabe Hicks, who goes by Gabe James Games across all of his socials, or did. Gabe is a person who has been in the space for a number of years and, again, as I mentioned, was very well known. They were at the point where, in addition to creating their own content for the tabletop gaming space, they were also involved in a lot of collaborative projects with other prominent creators, and they were featured attendees at major events, most recently, for example, at PAX East. PAX East ended this past Sunday, the 24th of March, and on Monday, the 25th, multiple people came out saying that Gabe had been in long-term, intimate relationships with all of them simultaneously while lying to each of them about it. The three people who initially came forward with their accounts of this situation are Cam, Jillian, and Maisie. I personally think it is very important for their stories to come from them, so I am not going to summarize their videos, but I will talk about the overall themes of what all three said. First is that all three were having some level of intimate relationship with Gabe over at least some overlapping period of time. And not a week, didn't end it soon enough before moving to the next. These were concurrent. Second is that Gabe habitually lied to and manipulated them and all of his friends, everyone around him, to keep this going and keep them from knowing about one another. Three is that part of that tactic included viciously defaming their characters to everyone else around them, including other prominent people in the industry, because again, Gabe had significant connections within the content creator space for tabletop RPGs. Now, thankfully, Cam does not rely on this industry to generate an income. However, Maisie and Jillian do. And for Jillian, unfortunately, this doesn't stop with them. Their partner, Matt, was also targeted by Gabe. And this is where it gets even worse somehow, because at the very least, Cam and Jillian, if not also Maisie, I'm not entirely sure, Cam and Jillian are polyamorous. Jillian's partner, Matt, was fully aware and consenting to Jillian's relationship with Gabe. There was quite literally no reason to do any of this. And yet, Gabe actively chose to lie to all of these people, as well as everyone else he knew in the space and everyone in his life, about what these people were to him and what their intentions were. He routinely told each partner that the other ones were obsessed fans that didn't understand boundaries. I am hearing claims he actively had people blacklisted because he didn't want certain people who were content creators to be in the same room together with him because it would out his lies. And just generally to cover his ass, he can't say, oh, these people are crazy, and then say, yeah, I'll work with them. If any of his partners question him about a potentially overly close interaction with one of his other secret partners, partners, he would weaponize their mental health and trauma against them. Timeline-wise, it seems like Cam was the first person to figure this out on Sunday, the last day of PAX East. They've mentioned that PAX East as a whole was a very uncomfortable experience for them because Jillian and their partner Matt were also at PAX East, and because they didn't know about each other, Jillian's interactions with Gabe were distressing to Cam because Gabe had told Cam that Jillian was an obsessed fan, and I believe the same thing about Matt. Once Cam found out the truth on Sunday, they very quickly connected with Jillian and I assume Maisie. And they did very quickly go public with this on Monday, both to see if there were any other people out there who had been in an intimate relationship with Gabe that they did not know about, so that they could inform them of what the situation was, but also because they realized that anyone who had been intimately involved with Gabe while he's had this very high position of power within the community was probably hurt in terms of their career within the community by Gabe. That is a huge part of why I wanted to talk about this. I keep thinking about this tweet from the archaeology story I did a couple episodes back, which basically said that the initial misinformation got way further than the retraction that came out later of that same information. My expectation is that given how big this has gotten, anybody with prominent decision-making capabilities within the tabletop gaming sphere understands not to work with Gabe any further, and hopefully understands that if they had been blackballing anyone on Gabe's recommendation, they will no longer do so. But if even one prominent person who maybe didn't know for some reason finds out because of this, I will be happy. But my hope is that we can go beyond that. And unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. As it turns out, allegedly, Gabe has been doing this for years. 2 more people have come forward saying that Gabe basically did the same thing to them several years back. And then a 6th person has come forward, I believe, saying that they had maybe a casual, intimate interaction with him, I believe recently when he would have been with Cam, Jillian, and Maisie. And I'll be frank, I believe there's probably more. This is very clearly a thing that he does. And I don't believe I said it before, but at least Cam has said that they were engaging in intimate activities which they would not have agreed to with Gabe if they had known Gabe had been with other partners due to their safety. Just really gross shit all around. When this first came out, Gabe put out a video on his TikTok page where he chalks up this whole situation to miscommunication on his part and lack of communication. That is an interesting way to say actively and maliciously lying for years. He then says he's really sorry if his actions hurt anybody and he's getting a therapist. So it's all gonna be okay. As you can imagine, it didn't go over that well. As of now, he has completely nuked his entire social presence, which, awesome, good. Let's keep it that way. Don't come back. The absolute magnitude of negative impact this man has had on so many people's lives is insane. The one thing I will give Gabe credit for is the fact that he came out with that initial video, made it so that nobody attacked these 3 people for coming forward, and also made it more easy for other people to come forward with their stories about Gabe. Good job, I guess. In addition to the support that I'm seeing pretty overwhelmingly directed at these people, there seems to be a bit of a budding conversation about whether polyamory is doomed to failure generally and whether or not it can ever actually work. But the response to that I'm seeing, which I do personally agree with, is that this situation is not a reflection of the failures of polyamory. Polyamory has its own set of landmines for sure, and there's always going to be a situation generally whenever you have more people involved with the thing, you're going to have more issues. But this doesn't touch on any of those actual issues. The issue here was this was unethical non-monogamy, and you may have heard polyamory is usually referred to as ethical non-monogamy. The reason that it's ethical is because everyone is informed and consenting to the situation as it stands, however it stands. No one was informed, and thus no one was able to be informed and consenting in this situation. So this has nothing to do with polyamory as a practice. And in fact, part of the problem is he told at least Maisie and Cam that he was single and or only with them, meaning not polyam. Anyway, please go and support these people, especially if you are interested in the tabletop RPG community. I've tagged Cam, Jillian, and Maisie's TikToks below. Please also go consider following them on Twitter, as well as Matt, Jillian's partner. At the very least, just listening to their stories gives them back some of the power and respect that was taken from them by Gabe. And simply adding to their following count gives them more visibility within the TTRPG space in terms of content creation, which can hopefully reverse at least some of the damage Gabe inflicted on their careers.